Hi, this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com, and welcome to That Was the Week That Was in South Carolina College Baseball for April the 9th. Today is Easter. For those of you who are Christians that observe Easter, happy Easter. I hope you had a blessed day. We can celebrate the resurrection. Now on to baseball. First, before we talk about the immediate weekend, we'll talk about some of the things that happened earlier in the week. Clemson got a nice run rule win over a ranked Coastal Carolina team on Tuesday. Helped get the Tigers back maybe in the right frame of mind. Also Tuesday, Erskine got a bases loaded walk, a bases loaded hit by pitch, and a bases loaded walk again to score 3 runs and beat Newberry in the late innings in a meeting with a ranked Newberry team. Newberry's ranked as 8th at the time and later moved up to 6th in there. Also on Tuesday, in Truist Field in Uptown Charlotte, South Carolina beat North Carolina 5-0. A really good game, nice matchup. Scoreless until the 7th inning. South Carolina scores 2 runs in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, and they hold on to win for a shutout. One little thing that bugged me that went on in there, and you see it more and more often, is that people don't care anything at all about the game. They're just there to see and be seen and maybe have a drink or two. We're sitting there, and the 7th inning stretch is coming up in a scoreless game, 0-0, mind you. And a couple of young people in front of us get up and say, "All right, we're leaving." And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? They're just there to have a couple of drinks and be seen and leave, go on out. Nothing game. Really exciting. There wasn't much of offense, but there was a lot of good pitching, good defense things going on. Then Carolina finally scores 2 runs in the top of the 8th, as South Carolina for those of you Tar Heels. And a couple of younger people behind me, one of them's talking to the other and said, "Hey, you want to stay for the end of the game? You never know what's going to happen." I'm fearful that Major League Baseball and to some extent college baseball is trying to change and tinker with the rules and the traditions of baseball. And these are the people that are trying to get interested in the game. They don't care. I mean, it's obvious. It's just there for a social event. Yeah, I mean, in the big picture, yeah, a baseball game, football game, basketball game, whatever it is, it doesn't mean much. But you've got rooting interest. You want to see your team win, or most people do that come to a game. But again, it's just a social outlet for some of these people. A couple of years back, I was at a hockey game in Greenville, and there was a group of Furman students there, I'd guess 10 or 12, however many it was. And I'm sitting in the lower end zone, and they stood up basically the entire time, talking, drinking, chatting, never paying attention to the game. I bet if I'd asked them what the score was, none of them could have told me, unless they had to look up at the scoreboard. Again, I think sports teams, leagues, etc., are trying to market and get people to come out to be fans of games, and they have no interest in being fans. Just really bugs me to see that some great baseball traditions. I don't have any problem with a shift. As Willie Keeler once said, hit them where they ain't. If you can't learn, a major league player can't learn how to hit against a shift and hit to an open place, then that's it. Too much of glorification of home runs and strikeouts going on right now. Too many people I think get caught up in launch angles, exit velocity, all the things like that. I was listening to a coach talk a few weeks back about the fact that he thought all the metrics on the game looked pretty good. They got beat. That's the bottom line. All this other stuff is nothing compared to the final score and of who's winning the game. I think that too many people get caught up in the metrics and the sabermetrics and all these other kind of things, and it's to the detriment of the game. Just go out and play good, solid, fundamental baseball. Okay, sorry, end of my rant. I apologize for that. Also on Tuesday, Wofford got a nice win over College of Charleston. On Wednesday, North Greenville ended a 3-game losing streak. I should have mentioned they lost to Lenore Ryan on Tuesday. But on Wednesday, they ended a 3-game losing streak by beating Young Harris. That 3-game losing streak was the first one for North Greenville since 2017. That's not too bad, is it? Landon Powell's doing a great job up there. On Thursday, a lot of the teams moved their games up to Thursday because of Easter, and they did not want to play on Easter. And among those, South Carolina beat LSU in the opener of a series. Gamecocks really played well. LSU, number 1 team in the country. Gamecocks relied on home runs and timely hitting to beat them 13-5. Ethan Petrie got 8 RBI in the game. Look for him to get probably his 4th SEC Freshman of the Week honor when they're announced on Monday. Elsewhere in openers of league series, Coastal Carolina beat Georgia Southern. Clemson lost to Florida State, Both Clemson and Florida State have been struggling in the conference lately, but we'll get on to more with that later. Also, Wofford got the opener against East Tennessee State. Winthrop and Charleston Southern split a pair, and you know most of these, but just kind of trying to hit the highlights. Presbyterian is playing Campbell, the top team in the Big South Conference, and the Blue Hoods picked up a split on Thursday. As you well know, a lot of the stuff on Friday got rained out and changed to other dates, Saturday dates, and all that kind of rainouts too. But South Carolina played LSU in Game 2 of their series. They'd hoped to play the third game later on, but it got rained out eventually. South Carolina had a 7-3 lead in this game, going to the 8th inning, had some of their reliable relief pitchers in, and a couple of walks, a hit batsman, and boom, grand slam home run, and it's 7-7. Carolina winds up losing the game 8-7 in 9 innings. Now, I know that there are games like this all the time when a team feels like they should have won and lost or should have lost and won. But for whatever reason it is, it's when you win that game, you lose that game you felt like you should have won, it seems to linger with you more. I guess it's kind of like the fisherman who talks about the one that got away, and meanwhile he's got a whole cooler full of fish in his boat as it goes through that. But again, South Carolina probably feels bad. They could have had a sweep of the number one team in the country, as it turns out, but they did not. But it's something they can learn from. I think it's good for Carolina to realize, hey, we cannot just rely on the home runs. They had multiple situations where they had runners on base in this LSU loss, and they could not get a runner across to do it. So they just, they're going to look back at one that they feel like they should have won, and they missed it. If it comes back to them losing a super regional seed or a regional seed or whatever because of this one loss, that's one they're going to think back and it's going to hurt them. But it is what it is. It's baseball, and that's what makes baseball a great game. You never know. Also on Friday, Clemson got a series win against Florida State. They evened it up against there. In that game, Blake Wright pulled off the hidden ball trick against the Florida State runner at third base. For those of you who are not familiar with the hidden ball trick, it's a situation where one of the other fielders pretends to give the ball back to the pitcher. The pitcher steps off the rubber so it cannot be called for a balk. And the fielder will just kind of hang around waiting to see a runner take a lead off the base. Florida State man did take a lead off of third base. Blake Wright was standing right there, and as soon as he took a step off, Wright tagged him, he's out. Instead of Florida State having a runner on third with 1 out and a 1-0 game, all of a sudden it is 2 outs, nobody on base. Clemson goes on to win that game 8-1. Nice game for them. Elsewhere on Friday, College of Charleston got a couple of wins over Hofstra. Georgia Southern and Coastal Carolina split. Wofford got rained out. North Greenville opened its completed its series with Shawan with a sweep. And the Region 10 junior college teams all moved their games up by day because of Easter. And they're able to get in a few of the games on Friday. All the Saturday action was washed out. Of those teams, Florence Darlington Tech swept Spartanburg Methodist. FD Tech has now won 15 games overall, 15 straight in the region. That was 15 straight overall too, also, and they're 38-5, so they're doing well. Going into the weekend, they had the most wins of any team on any level of college baseball. Pretty nice. As you know, most of the Saturday action was rained out. Coker did get a split at Lincoln Memorial. Francis Marion was able to sweep King. They're now on an 8-game winning streak, and so they're doing very well. Limestone got a couple of late 1-1 wins over Virginia Wise. They're up to, I believe, 14 wins now. That's pretty good after only 4 wins all of last season. So things are looking up for Coach Brett Harker and his team over at Limestone. Wofford got a series split with East Tennessee State. They went ahead late in Game 1. Then in Game 2, took a 1-0 lead into the bottom of the 7th. The Southern Conference does 7-inning games on the last day of series on doubleheaders. And East Tennessee State pushed across a couple of runs in the 7th to win that game 2-1, take a series split. On Sunday, College of Charleston lost to Hofstra and dropped the final game of that series. Had a chance to sweep the series, but did not. But it was a wet series, a wet weekend, I should say, for most of the teams in the state. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. This week's Team of the Week, I selected USC Upstate. The Spartans have won 4 straight. They're now 22-11 overall. They're also 8-1 in the Big South Conference. That is their best start in conference play since they became a Division I school. Other good weeks were about Florida, Darlington Tech. They're 3-0 this week. Francis Marion is 3-0. Clemson at 3-1, getting 2 wins over Florida State to get its first ACC series win, and also that midweek win over Florida State, our midweek win over Coastal Carolina. I'm sorry when I misspeak. I don't have a script, and I'm just trying to wing it, and things just pop in and out of my mind. I'm sorry for that. My Palmetto State baseball team rankings for this week. I made a few changes in the middle of the pack in a couple of the rankings. In NCAA Division I, South Carolina, I still have as number 1, going 1-1 against LSU and getting that midweek win over North Carolina. That's a pretty good week, 2 wins over ranked teams. USC was ranked as high as 3rd in the nation in the polls, and 6th in most of them. Do I think they're a top 5 team? Not really. They still got a couple of question marks offensively at times, and also need to see what the status of Noah Hall is. He's been dealing with some back issues. He did not start against LSU. He would not have started even if they'd had that 3rd game in. I moved Clemson up to number 2, getting that win over Coastal, who was my previous number 2, and plus winning 2 of 3 at Florida State. That was a good series for the Tigers. They needed it for their ACC tournament hopes, and maybe just try to kindle a little bit of NCAA hope, interest. Just got to start somewhere. And that was a good start. Even though Florida State's been struggling, they went into the Clemson series on a 10-game losing streak. I did not realize that until Thursday afternoon. They ended that streak, but then promptly lost the next 2 games. Following Clemson, got Coastal Carolina as 3, Wofford is 4, USC Upstate is 5, and College of Charleston is 6. I had intended to leave College of Charleston at number 5 over Upstate if Charleston had won its Sunday game, but it did not. So I thought that Upstate deserved a little kick up. NCAA Division II. North Greenville remains the number 1, a solid number 1. They were 4-1 last week, and it's just kind of a ho-hum week for them. They just keep on winning. They are very close to clinching the regular season championship in Conference Carolinas. They could conceivably do it next week with a couple of weeks of conference play remaining. A couple of things would have to go the right way, but they're playing very well. Newberry only got to play once last week. That midweek loss to Erskine. They moved 2 of their games from the weekend to this coming week, and they will be playing a doubleheader on Monday. It's either at Catawba or Carson Newman. I don't have the schedule right in front. It's at Catawba. I'm sorry. Apologize for that. USC Aiken I still have as number 3, followed by Erskine, Francis Marion, who stayed in that spot, and Anderson. Lander had a good week. They went 3-1, got a series win in the conference play, and they are now, I moved them up from 8th to 7th in that division. No changes in the NAIA or NCAA Division III rankings. Columbia International number 1, Morris 2, Voorhees, Bob Jones. None of those teams are having particularly good seasons, but they're trying. Maybe they'll get some success and a little reward for their work. In NJCAA, Region 10, Florence Darlington Tech, I still have as number 1. I don't see any reason to take them down. They've been up there all year. USC Sumter, number 2, Spartanburg Methodist, USC Lancaster. I really think they're pretty much interchangeable, followed by USC Union and USC Salkehatchie. Some of the games coming up this week. On Monday, as I mentioned, there are going to be some games, makeups from the South Atlantic Conference. Carson Newman is at Anderson, and Catawba is at Newberry in conference doubleheaders. Also, since Coastal Carolina was able to have Sunday off, they're sneaking in a Monday-Tuesday series at Campbell. Campbell's ranked, Coastal Carolina's ranked. They both should be ranked again this week. That's a nice series. It should help each one of them's RPI as they play that. Again, Monday and Tuesday in Bowie's Creek. On Tuesday, some of the games going on. USC Upstate, which has been playing so well, is going to be playing at South Carolina. Clemson is at Georgia. Georgia got a nice SEC doubleheader sweep of Kentucky on Sunday afternoon. Kind of cooled off the Wildcats and gave the Bulldogs a little bit of a boost. They're now up to 3-9 in the SEC. Winthrop is at Charlotte. Presbyterian is at Wofford. Landers at Limestone. Coker's at Francis Marion. Charleston Southern is at College of Charleston. And Anderson's at Southern Wesleyan. Lots of nice intra-state meetings going on here on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have Catawba is visiting North Greenville. Catawba is one of the better teams in the SAC. North Greenville is, of course, on top in Conference Carolinas. Also, we've got Georgia College at Newberry. That'll be a nice matchup. And Southern Wesleyan at Limestone. On Thursday, the only thing going on is a game involving the USC Union team. They're playing the Montreat JVs. They just added that game last week, and they're going to be adding another. They added another doubleheader for April the 17th. Conference series coming up this weekend. Clemson is at home against Notre Dame. This is a big series. Notre Dame's also in the middle of the pack in the ACC. Clemson needs to make hay at home in the SEC to try to improve its. Did I say SEC? If I did, I'm sorry. In the ACC to try and improve its standings. Every win is going to be important in conference play from here on out, just like that non-conference game at Georgia on Tuesday. Elsewhere, South Carolina's playing at Vanderbilt. Gamecocks have quite often struggled with Vandy, particularly at Vanderbilt, so that'll be a tough series for them. The Commodores are leading the SEC East. USC is a half game behind because of that rain out against LSU, but it should be a good series. Be interesting to see how the Gamecocks do on the road against one of the better teams. There were some skeptics as far as their early season conference schedule, getting Georgia, getting Missouri, getting Mississippi State, and they've all had so-so records in conference play so far. So I think if after falling up the split with LSU, if Carolina can do well at Vanderbilt, it will make a believer out of some of the national skeptics that are going on. Also, North Greenville is at Belmont Abbey. Belmont Abbey traditionally is one of the toughest rivals North Greenville has in Conference Carolina. The those Crusaders from North Carolina, are down a little bit this year, but they can still be pesky. Wofford's got a Southern Conference series at Western Carolina. The Citadel has a series at North Carolina Greensboro. In the Big South, we've got USC Upstate at UNC Asheville, Charleston Southern at Radford, Presbyterian is at Winthrop. It'll be a nice in-state series there. Again, those are all Friday series that begin. Saturday, the junior colleges crank back in. Florida Arlington Tech can pretty much wrap up its regular season championship in Region 10 with a sweep at USC Union. One of the other good series is going to be USC Sumter at Spartanburg Methodist. They've both got designs on finishing second in the conference if they can on the region. The higher the region, the better the seeds you get. USC Lancaster and USC Salkehatchie round out the schedule for the state teams. Claflin lost 3 more games over the weekend to Young Harris. They're now sitting in an 0-31 streak. Hopefully the Panthers are going to get a game here before long and just after they get that, maybe get off get everything off their back and just be able to play a little bit more loosely and enjoy playing baseball. I am sure they are pressing right now as much as the coaches may try to encourage him to just take it easy and go with what's going on. But that's the way it is sometimes. Looking back at the ACC and SEC standings, in the Atlantic Division, Wake Forest is way ahead at 12-2. Louisville is 4.5 games back. So that's, 3.5 games back. I'm trying to do math on the fly here. Followed by Boston College, Notre Dame, NC State, Clemson, and Florida State. Clemson is a game and a half ahead of Florida State, and they are, really percentage points behind NC State. But the Tigers could make a move here. In the Coastal Division, it's Virginia first. They have an 11-4 record. They came off a sweep of Miami. North Carolina is 2.5 games back. And Miami and North Carolina are going to be meeting this coming weekend in Chapel Hill, so that'll be a big series there as far as the hopes. In the SEC, as I mentioned, Carolina is, actually I said it wrong. I think I said they were a half game. They're a game and a half, so I apologize for that. Going into the Vandy series. Following South Carolina, a half game back is Florida at 93. Kentucky's also at 93. Then you got Tennessee, Missouri, and Georgia rounding it out. Arkansas has a half-game lead over LSU in the West. The Hogs are 8-4. LSU is 7-4. You got Texas A&M following, then Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss all have losing records. Interesting series this weekend. Also, in addition to Carolina at Vanderbilt, you got Georgia at Florida, and Tennessee at Arkansas. It'll be interesting to see what goes on in that situation. That is about all I've got to have to say this week. I apologize for so many mistakes. It's just that I need to write a script, but I'd rather get this done quicker. But in the future, I may do a script to try to get something going on with this. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy my coverage of college baseball in South Carolina at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Do a daily score list and schedules. I include news and notes. I do rankings like these I've mentioned today. I am also active on Twitter at Palmetto Base, so you can follow things there. I want to hear from you if you like these video casts. I also do a podcast on Thursdays usually. I try to find out if anyone is listening to this. Am I just doing it for myself? When you comment or send me an email or a text or whatever, I know that somebody's at least listening and appreciates the fact I'm trying to publicize the game of college baseball. One of the college coaches texted me this week that when he was having his games rained out, and he said he appreciated what it did for the kids. And I am not doing this to make money. I don't sell anybody anything. Don't sell advertisements. I'm not trying to sell subscriptions. If you're a parent of a junior college or college player, I'm not trying to sell you some kind of magic potion that's going to get your kid into the starting lineup for the major leagues. I just love the game of baseball. And I intend to always stay to the end of the game, unlike some of these young whippersnappers I'm seeing. But that's going to do it for this week. That was the week that was in South Carolina college baseball. This is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com saying nothing could be finer than baseball in South Carolina. Happy Easter and good night.